The sample dungeon. Tower of Zenopus. Background. 100 years ago, the sorcerer Zenopus built a tower on the low hills overlooking Poor Town. The tower was, and appropriately, next door to the graveyard. Rumor has it that the magician made extensive cellars and tunnels underneath the tower. The town is located on the ruins of a much older city of doubtful history, and Zenopus was said to excavate in his cellars in search of ancient treasures. 50 years ago, on a cold wintry night, the wizard's tower was suddenly engulfed in green flame. Green flame! Several of his human servants escaped the Holocaust, probably a poor choice of words, saying their master had been destroyed by some powerful force he had unleashed in the depths of the tower. Needless to say, the tower stood vacant for a while after this. But then the neighbors and the night watchmen complained that ghostly blue lights appeared in the windows at night, that ghastly screams could be heard emanating from the tower at all hours, and goblin figures could be seen dancing on the tower roof in the moonlight. Finally, the authorities had a catapult rolled through the streets of the town, and the tower was battered to rubble. This stopped the hauntings, but the townsfolk continued to shun the ruins. The entrance to the old dungeons can be easily located as a flight of broad stone steps leading down into darkness, but the few adventurous souls who have descended into crypts below the ruins have either reported only empty stone corridors or have failed to return at all. Other magic users have moved into the town, but the site of the old tower remains abandoned. Whispered tales are told of fabulous treasures and unspeakable monsters in the underground passages below the hilltop, and the storytellers are always careful to point out that the reputed dungeons lie in close proximity to the foundations of the older, pre-human city, to the graveyard, and to the sea. Poor Town is a small but busy city linking the caravan routes from the south to the merchant ships that dare the pirate-infested waters of the northern sea. Humans and non-humans from all over the globe meet here. At the Green Dragon Inn, players of the game gather their characters for an assault on the fabulous passages beneath the ruined wizard's tower. So we get a nice intro with a bunch of info and backstory. We're also put right into the mix. You're at the inn, meet in the tavern, but your goal is already established. It's not, oh, we're in the tavern, and what do we do? And oh, here's a wizard tower. Nah, or whatever. It's like, no, you're here, and you're gathered to assault it. It's already set. You're doing it. You're just in the prep stages. But some nice stuff. And I think I would just read this to the players. I don't think there's anything here particularly GM facing. We're all talking about information that's all publicly known and been passed around. The Dungeon Master should read the background material above to the assembled players, like I just said, and then let them decide how they will proceed. Because of the nature of some of the traps in the dungeon, it is highly recommended that no one attempt it alone. If only one player is taking his or her character into the dungeon, the Dungeon Master should recommend employing one or more men-at-arms. These non-player characters can then be rolled up and hired out for a share of the treasure. This is kind of your, hireling type deal. The stairway from the surface leads 25 feet straight down and ends in the corridor marked Start on the Dungeon Master's map, which is right there. So yeah, this map was not for the sample dungeon example, but for this one. And now we get the room descriptions. This is a large room, 120 feet by 100 feet. There are doors in the east, west, and south wall. The room is furnished with rough tables and benches and as many... Skipping through here. As many beds as there are occupants. The occupants are goblins. There are at least 3 goblins. The Dungeon Master should increase the number of goblins if the party of adventurers is a large one, i.e. if more than 3 are in the party, have 5 goblins, more than 5, 7 or 8 goblins, etc. The goblins wear leather armor and carry swords and daggers. They can each take one 8-sided die of hits minus 1 point, i.e. roll a regular hit die, subtract 1. The result is the goblin's hits. If 1 is rolled, do not subtract. If half their number is killed, the others will try to escape through one of the doors or surrender. If surrender is accepted, the captured goblins will offer to lead the party to a treasure, but will, in reality, try to guide them to one of the dangerous trap rooms and then run. Okay. Whew. Zach Wolf says, I appreciate that there is no hiring fee for the hirelings, and they just get a share of the treasure. Makes it so even level 1 characters can hire them. That's true. That is absolutely true. And yeah, that share, especially if you're a lone adventurer, is maybe not as high a cost. Whereas if you're already splitting it by 5 and then you're cutting more shares, it feels like you're getting less and less of the pie. In this case, you're still doing well, and you're only one character. So any help you get is kind of almost necessary. You need the help. You need it. All right, look, here we go. Continuing on. There are small wooden chests under each bed and several leather sacks hanging on pegs along the wall. Most of the sacks contain junk, dirty clothes, old bones, etc., but 2 contain coins, 500 silver pieces each. There are several cloaks hanging on pegs, and in a pocket of one cloak, there is a magical potion of growth in a glass vial. One of the chests contains an additional 2,000 copper pieces, but the chest is booby-trapped, and an opening releases a cloud of sleep gas, filling an area 6 by 6 by 6 feet. Anyone within this area who fails to make his saving throw against poison falls deeply asleep for a number of turns. The Dungeon Master determines the exact number of turns of unconsciousness by secret roll of a 6-sided die, subtracting a 1 if the character has a high constitution. So now that's room A. Okay, so I guess something interesting note. We started here. Room E was empty, so it doesn't even get any kind of description. It's just empty. And then we get into this A room. And now, just interesting from a layout perspective, starting back at C, we went, that first was going, I guess we'd say, west. Now the next room we're getting is going south to B. This is a 50 by 50 foot room with a north door and an open door at the south end. The 4 deep niches in the walls can be seen from the north doorway, but they are covered with cobwebs and nothing can be seen within them. The room is totally dark, and the floor is covered with an inch of undisturbed dust. There are 4 skeletons in the niches. They do not attack unless someone advances over 10 feet into the room. Then they all rush out and attack until destroyed or turned away. First level cleric must roll a 7 or more with 2 6-sided dice to turn them, and then make a 7 roll to see how many are turned away. If turned, they run out the door at the end of the room, furthest from the cleric. There is no treasure in this room. So they just go running out, la 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 la, into another empty room. It's got some bunch of doors in them. But I guess they can open doors. Or I guess that door's, so the door on the south of B looks like it's actually open. So I guess it's a open question if the skeletons, if they get turned running into the empty room, will open further doors or if they'll just cower in a corner somewhere. Now, where's room C, which is next on our list? So we had A, we got B, let me get P. Where the heck is C? Oh, C is an empty corridor. That's weird because C is right at the entrance, but it's not A, even though it's the first thing you're going to hit. C is an empty corridor. All corridors in this dungeon are 10 feet wide and 10 feet high. The Magic User Secret Corridor, S to F, is 5 feet by 5 feet. Remember that at the end of 3 turns, a wandering monster might appear. Corridors are likely places for this to happen. That is just weird, because you want them to see this the first thing they read. I suppose I should have known to look at C and then gone down to C, but still, why not make that A? Just makes too much sense. Too much sense for this dungeon. Now we go to D. And where is D? All right, I see A, I see B. C is there. Oh, D is, okay, all the way down here. Oh, not all the way. So we have, go down from B, get into an empty room. So we go south. So we start off at the start. We turn and go south to the room B, skeleton's room. Then we keep going south through the open door into E, which is empty. Then we have some different options, but were we to go west through a long corridor, there are 2 empty rooms in kind of the middle off through doors, basically midway through that corridor, but they're both empty. Then we're to continue going. Then we get to D, which looks like it has something inside of it. Nope, it's not check every 2. Yep, they've got check every 3. So D, an almost empty room with a 6-foot tall stone statue in the center. There's a door in the middle of each wall, north, south, east, and west. The statue is facing the door by which the party just entered. I don't know if it's supposed to be magical or what, because you can enter this room a couple different ways, but whatever way they enter, the statue's facing them, which is an interesting piece of intel. Doors to this room always open from the outside, but at the same time, the statue will rotate on its base to face the opening door. All right, so it is an actual trick. Once it's been opened, the door starts to slowly shut, activated by a powerful spring in the hinges. It will stay open to allow the party to enter. The door opens outward into the corridor. It doesn't say whether it's, well, let me read. There might be more. I wonder if it doesn't say if it's particularly hard to get back open or not. From inside the room, all doors are firmly held shut except the one the statue is facing. That door can be easily opened. To open any door, then, the statue must be rotated on its base. It turns easily until it faces the door. Then the door opens easily. Doors cannot be forced open. They are held by the equivalent of a wizard lock. Ooh, this is a cool little puzzle, actually, I have to say. So you open the door, enter the room, statue's facing you. You all come in, door slowly closes behind you, and you can open that door again. All right, it's easy. But then you try to open the other doors, and it's stuck. And you're at first level. You don't have, I don't know when you get knock or anything like that. They will not open. But it's a cool little puzzle, and it's not like it's some kind of trap in a sense, because you can always just leave. And we've got some, what would we call it? I don't know if I'd call it full-fledged jacazing, but we've definitely got loops here where you have multiple ways of getting this room. There are multiple ways to get this other room. So you're not absolutely stuck. It's not a puzzle that you must solve to proceed. You just then have to leave and go other ways to get around. But it's a fun one because when you make that connection, maybe of the statue facing you, or maybe can we turn it, then no rolls necessary. You just turn it and get out the doors you want. So I really like that. Okay, so here we do have the note about the E rooms. Room E is always an empty room. The size of the rooms, the number of doors is variable as shown on the Dungeon Master's map. So it's like they did this to kind of just, I guess, save space so they could just use this one description for all the E rooms. But I think nowadays we'd still like some kind of, well, what is the room? Because this doesn't tell you anything. It's just empty. Like, it's literally just bare. So this is where having a little handy dandy table or something else to generate or what's in the room or what the flavor of the room is would be kind of nice. So we get, where's F? F is down here. So this was, if we'd come through B and kept going south, we'd get to F. This is a magic user's room. This is a magic user's room. He is an evil thaumaturgist, 4th level, who has been trying to take over the dungeon level. The room is 50 feet by 60 feet. There is a large door in the south wall and a smaller one in the north wall. The magic user himself is standing behind a work table in the southwest corner. Near him is a 2nd level fighting man whom he holds under a charm spell. Actually, this man is one of the smugglers from the sea cave whose curiosity allowed him to wander too far into the underground. The fighter is basically neutral but will attack fiercely on command from the magic user. Armor class 5, he carries a magic +1 sword. He wears a jeweled belt, stolen, with rubies worth 1,000 gold pieces. The note about it being stolen is interesting because what's the party supposed to do with that information? Is this so that later on somebody can run up saying, that's my belt? Because, I just imagine they say he's a smuggler, so just presume that stuff is kind of black market or gray market at best material, but it's just kind of funny. The note, it's stolen. Like, all right, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do with that info? Retreat Cost says, I wonder if the empty rooms with no description were meant to lead to a quicker playstyle, or if everyone searched every one of them and looked for traps and secrets, ... Yes, I think the playstyle is definitely faster. And yes, I think by just saying it's empty, you do move things along. I still like if there's just a little bit something like, hey, this used to be a storeroom, but it's empty. Or, oh, hey, you see marks on the floor. Or, oh, hey, you can see where there used to be a bed or something. Just a little something. But yes, it definitely eases up and focuses play when you can just open the door and say it's empty, because you can get that slowdown of like they're searching 10 feet every room because it seems super interesting. So there definitely is some usefulness to having some rooms with just minimal description, just so that the party doesn't get wrapped up in every single room. And also empty rooms can be useful because you can find one to try to close to take a break, or do something if you need to prep something, or just hide out. You can hide out in there. But I just like if you can give me a little something to make it feel a little more lived in than it's just all these bare rooms. Because also think about, which I think is more of a modern concern of like, well, someone made this room, they carved this room out of the rubble and the rock. It's like it had to be something. But it is a style thing for sure. Zach Wolf says, I feel like it's a justification for this random 2nd level fighter having a jeweled belt. Oh, maybe that's stolen. Yeah, I mean, sure. I don't know if anyone's... I feel like that's the least of your concerns at this point. But yes, I suppose it's just telling you just to have his flavor that it's stolen. Sure. But it kind of like just that thing just seems to... I guess that little note is just... I just maybe if it was just more... I mean, this is a sample dungeon, right? This is a little thing to get you started. I guess if this were more of a fleshed out thing, I feel like that's a nice little hook for something. Because it is kind of an interesting bit if you were to take this off, you're the fighter, and I take the belt and I wear it, and then you get recognized or called out. You go back to the smugglers, and maybe the smuggler's like, hey, why are you wearing Jim's belt? They're like, there's some cool stuff you could do with it. It's just really, it's way beyond the scope of what they're doing here to have that. But it's a fun little, right? It's a fun little teaser almost of directions you could go with that particular item. Okay, the thaumaturgist, 4th level magic user knows 6 spells: Read Magic, Charm Person, Magic Missile, Protection from Good, as he's lawful evil, Wizard Lock, and Web. He carries a scroll of levitation. When caught in this room, he will A, direct the fighter to attack, and B, try to exit through the secret door behind him. While doing this, there is a 50% chance that he will drop the magic scroll. If magic is thrown at him, his saving throw is better than that of magic users of the 3rd level. Add +1 to his saving throw score. If he can get out the door, he will put a wizard lock on it and run up the stairs to his tower. The rest of room F is occupied by 3 stone statues of men. They are men turned to stone by the magic user with a special wand, which he has in his tower. He will use the wand on anybody entering his hideaway. Ooh, okay, so that is S, I think, running up to his tower. So he comes out. I don't see the secret door. Where's the secret door? F is the wizard's room, right? We're in this room, magic user's room. He's in behind a desk table in the southwest corner. So he's here. Interesting. They don't note this as secret. Did they say it was a secret? Or am I just reading too much into it? Yeah, it says try to exit through the secret door behind him, but it's actually not marked as a secret. So I guess that's a typo. That should be a secret door, and then he's going to run up into his tower. And if you try to follow him, he's going to go try to grab he's going to wizard lock that, get his hole up in here, and get his wand ready. So where we get G, gloomy. Piles of rocks and rubbish 4 feet high cover the floor. There is a door in the center of every wall except the north wall. That's not actually true unless we're counting this door way down here as part of room G. I guess they are. There are 2 to 8 giant rats in the room. They are hiding in shadows and not easily seen. An elf or dwarf might spot them on a roll of, say, 1 or 2 on a 6-sided die. They will attack if the room's entered. The rats are armor class 7, have 2 hit points each, and have a treasure. Concealed in a mass of old bones, chewed leather straps, and bits of armor in its nest is a belt attached to which is a silver dagger with a 50 gold piece value, in a sheath, and a bag containing 50 electrum pieces. It takes a turn of careful searching in the refuse to come up with these things. Nice little bit there. Let's see. So that's room G. Where's room H? Here we go. So we get room H, which seems to be bisected by, I'm guessing, an underground river, but it might be something else. But it looks like there's an arrow here, which seems to be showing a current, and that current would be kind of southwesterly. All right, H, a room 80 feet by 50 feet with doors in the north and south walls. There is a river running through the room 50 feet wide. It enters and exits through holes in the east and west walls with less than a foot of airspace over the water. The channel is 10 feet deep and the current is swift. Anyone falling in will be swept away unless he has a strength of 15 or better. Men in metal armor will sink to the bottom if they fall in. They may be able to shed their armor, 50% chance, in 1 turn and get to the surface. The current will deposit anyone swept away in room K at the end of a turn. Being dragged under the rock wall between rooms is dangerous. Anyone with a constitution of 12 or better will survive unhurt. Others run a 50% chance of taking a die of damage from drowning. So something just here to note, I guess in general, is we're seeing much more attribute importance. Like that having high dex in combat, it's just flat out, it's not a bonus to a roll, it's just flat out you're going to go first. So you have a dex of 17, let's say, you're probably going to go first in most combats you enter for your entire career, which is pretty strong. In this case, too, we've got this current dragging people around. If you have 12 or better, you don't have to get damaged. If you don't, you have to roll 50% chance of taking a die or not. A die of damage, which I'm guessing is a 1d6, not just 1 point of damage, but a die of damage. So that's not a small deal. So kind of an interesting shift, because when you get to BX and beyond, you get much less reliance on your attributes. I might like if you could do something like swap your level or do something with your level instead of your attribute. Something like that might be a nice different way to do this. I'm not sure, but it's kind of cool. It definitely gets some rewards for having those high ability scores, which I go back and forth on because it is kind of, there's a fair random chance on what you get. So I like when you have some things that you get out of it, but it's not super indicative of things throughout your career. I like that your kind of class levels take over. But this certainly, if you were to build stuff using this as a model, there seems to be much more of rewards for having high scores. Zach says contextual benefits for certain ability thresholds rather than the checks. Yes, which is nice because it goes fast. Because you can just say, hey, is your con over 12? Or 12 or better? Yes, you're good. No, you're not. You don't have to do rolls for that stuff. Zach Wolf says it reminds him of Bethesda-style skill requirements for certain dialogue. Oh, yeah, that's true. Now, room I, which is south of room H. Doors in the north, south, and east walls give entrance to this room. In the center of the room is a bronze sundial on a low pedestal. Set into the stone of the west wall is a bronze mask about the size of a manhole cover. The eyes and mouth are shut. Below the mask, in common language, is an inscription. I'll answer questions. One, no more. I never speak till it before. Ooh, got a little riddle there. The magic is activated by shining the light of a single torch, lantern, etc. on the sundial, so the shadow of the Naman, I don't know what that is, but I'm guessing that's part of the sundial, that part, the angular triangle bit. So the shadow falls on the Roman numeral 4. The bronze mask then opens its eyes and says, speak, I'll answer. It will give a reasonable answer to any brief, pertinent question and then say, I've answered one. Now go away. I will not speak again today. It's also a poet. Since the shadow has to be held on 4, there is little chance of triggering the magic accidentally, even by walking around the sundial with a light. Jason says, oh, talking to RPG Grandma. Don't mind me, Jason. Hey, Frederick. Frederick says, Zach the DM can have a lot of fun with hirelings on a profit share contract. For example, rival party offers more shares to NPC with great stats. That's cool, but how does that rival NPC know? How does that rival party know that NPC has great stats, Frederick? I feel like there's a little metagaming going on there. I don't know that. I mean, I suppose your strength could be bursting out of your armor, but, a little shifty there. Now we have room L, another cave with the river running through it. There is phosphorescent fungus growing on the rocks, so anyone can see without lights. There are east and west entrances on both sides of the river to the sandy beach. The river is only 3 to 4 feet deep at the center of the channel and can be forded. There is a giant crab concealed under the sand on the south beach. It will attack anything that moves on either beach. It runs 60 feet in one turn, in armor class 3, and takes 2 hit dice. It strikes with its giant claws one at a time as fast as a man. Clap, clap. Zach says that they interpreted that as rival adventures offer more money to your hirelings, which is a fun idea. Yes, I do like that. I don't know if I love the idea of them cherry picking the best stats. But, I can see how if you interpret your stats as being super visible, then sure. But I don't tend to look at them as being like your crazy buff if you have a strength of, I don't know, less than 17 or 18. I'm not sure. I've never really thought about it, but I like them. They'd have to take their chances with who looks the best. Maybe, obviously, if they're wearing the best equipment and they seem to be in the best, I don't know, sort of shape, I can see that. But I don't know that I would want to have them like literally dig up the stats and cherry pick that way. So room M is a large sea cave with entrances to the north and south. There is a sandy beach on which are drawn up 2 rowboats. The entrance to the sea is to the west about 500 feet. If it is day up above, the cave will be dimly illuminated by sunlight coming through the tunnel. If it is night, torches in the hands of the occupants will shed a dim glow. The cave is used by smugglers and pirates. There are 4 pirates present now, sitting in one of the boats, talking. They are normal men, armor class 7, and are armed with cutlasses. And here we have a parenthetical. At the dungeon master's discretion, he may increase the number of pirates. Each pirate carries 2 to 12 gold pieces in his purse. The pirates use the cave to hide treasure, and there are chests in the first boat and a prisoner in the second boat. Every turn, there's a 25% chance of another boatload of 2 to 5 pirates rowing in. The prisoner is a girl, Lamunda the Lovely, whose father is a powerful lord in the city above. Lamunda is a good fighter in her own right and carries a concealed dagger in her girdle, but right now she is bound and gagged. She is lying in the bottom of the second boat, not the one occupied by the pirates. Her family would be very grateful to get her back. We get some stats for Lamunda the Lovely. The treasure is in 2 chests in the first boat. One chest contains 2,000 silver pieces, the other 1,000 electrum pieces, and 12 gems each worth 100 gold pieces. Exit from the underground can be made by rowing out to the sea, although there is a possibility of meeting another boat coming in. There's a large octopus at the bottom of the sea cave, 3 hit dice, armor class 7, which will attack boats. The pirates always throw the monster a large fish or the body of one of their victims, so it does not attack their boats. If the octopus makes a hit with a tentacle, it will not do any damage immediately, but will pull the victim overboard and try to drown him. And then there's more information in room H for more CH for more information about drowning. Assume that all characters know how to swim. The octopus gets 6 attacks per melee round. So basically, the rules for drowning are the same as if you got dragged down by your armor. That's cool. And you get another exit, and you get a nice someone you can save. Next up, we have room N, which is up here. It's got, looks like maybe another exit of sorts. RPG Grandma says, ever since I was really ill back in the pandemic, my real life con has sucked. I just don't get better like I used to. Getting older sucks. I hear you. I hear you, RPG Grandma. It does indeed suck. So here we have room N. This large room, 120 feet by 70 feet, is part of the Catacombs of the city. The north wall has caved in, and there are doors only at the east and west ends of the tomb. Whoops. 10 stone sarcophagi are scattered about, 4 empty with the tops off. 6, however, are closed. If the adventurers open one, roll a die to see which they have chosen. Number 1 contains only moldering bones, but releases a cloud of noxious gas, which renders unconscious anyone within 3 feet unless they make their saving throw against poison. Unconsciousness lasts 1 to 6 turns, depending on the dungeon master's die roll. Number 2 contains a partially clothed skeleton, which holds a jeweled dagger in the bony hands folded across its chest. If the dagger is removed, it will flash away into the air, turn, and attack the one who touched it. It strikes as a 1-hit die monster and will continue to attack until it draws blood, doing 1 die of damage, or its intended victim runs from the room. It will then return to the coffin with its owner. The dancing dagger is hard to hit, armor class 3, and if hit, it falls to the floor and remains motionless for 3 melee rounds, and then takes up the attack again. Putting it back in the sarcophagus will stop the attacks, of course. So you can't take it. So it's kind of cool, but unfortunately, you can't bond it with you. It is, what's the word in kind of 5th edition? It's been, when magic items, it's been, what do you have to do? I forget the name of the thing, but that's basically bonding a magic item, because clearly that item has been bonded to by the dead person. In the third one, there's a skeleton who wears rings and a coronet worth 300 gold pieces. Number 4, a skeletal form wears jewelry worth 900 gold pieces. A tune, Ian says, thanks. And then Zach says soulbound from World of Warcraft. Yep, soulbound's kind of a cool term. But yeah, either way, it's attuned or soulbound. Number 5 has an animated skeleton with 7 hit points, armor class 7, and is armed with a curved scimitar. It will attack as soon as the lid is removed. Number 6, skeletal form in chainmail holds a magic sword +1. Any warrior type drawing it from the scabbard will feel the surge of magical power it gives. That's a nice note. When the party enters the room, there is a 50% chance a giant rat will burst through the loose dirt at the north end of the room and attack. Armor class 7, 4 hit points. At the end of each turn or each 10 melee rounds. Man, 10 melee rounds? That's a lot of rounds to be going with a rat. There's another 50% chance that a rat will enter from the tunnels. The rats will not, however, leave room N except to go back to the tunnels. The sarcophagus lids are heavy. 4 or more men can lift them off. 1 man would have to slide the lid off, and this would take 1 turn. Thus, it will take several turns to get them all open, and the rats are pretty sure to show up. So cool. So this is kind of another exit, I think. I don't remember if they said, they might have said somewhere how big those are. Because clearly seems like you're meant to be able to go in there, because they bothered to grid them out, I should say, and you've got some exits. But maybe a tough one to go, especially if there's full of rats. Key. This room is 50 feet by 80 feet and has doors in all 4 walls. It contains 2 ghouls and some smashed coffins. The ghouls are armor class 6, and if they score a hit, they can paralyze their opponent unless he's an elf. They take 2 hit dice, 11, 9 hit points respectively. Coffins contain, in addition to indescribable odds and ends, 50 platinum pieces and 5 gems, each worth 10 gold pieces. Each door leads to a short dirt tunnel, which ends blindly under the cemetery, which would be this over here. Okay, so we do have a note about the rat tunnels. Rat tunnels. They are only 3 feet in diameter, round, and dug through the soft earth of the cemetery. A man could crawl through them, but it should be hard for him to fight. -2, penalty to attack rolls. Whoops. Let's scroll up here. A halfling or dwarf would be at no particular disadvantage. Every 100 feet, there's a 50% chance of meeting a rat. Every 200 feet, a 50% chance of coming on 5 gold pieces. The tunnels form an endless maze, and there's no end to the rats. The tunnels intersect the dungeons at the northernmost corridor and at room N. Rats are described under room N. Okay, so I guess they don't leave. There's just... But I suppose you could dig up? I don't know. And then we have S. I guess this might be the last thing. Spiral staircase. The spiral staircase begins at floor level at the north wall and winds around up to the roof 25 feet above, making one full turn. The stair ends in a closed trapdoor in the ceiling, leading up to room S1. The room contains a giant snake, armor class 6, 2 hit dice, and moves 100 feet per turn. There are 2 visible doors at ground level, north and south, as well as the trapdoors in the ceiling. There is a secret door under the stairs, opened by pressing a hidden catch. So where's S1? We get S1. Oh. I guess they don't. I guess S1 are bonuses, but they didn't make it onto the drawing. S1, ground floor of the Magician's Tower, entered through the trapdoor in the floor. There is a door to the north and a spiral staircase leading up, just like the one in the room below, ending in a trapdoor in the ceiling. The door to the street outside and the trap in the ceiling are both open. There is a fireplace, cooking utensils, and a few chairs. The room is unoccupied. The trapdoor above leads to room S2. S2, just above S1 and shaped the same, also with a spiral stair leading to the roof. Trapdoor closed. No doors, but narrow, tall windows in each wall. This is the wizard's study, and here he has his 2 giant volumes of magic spells, table, lamps, chemicals, skulls, loose pages of parchment, mystic designs on the floor, etc. Against the south wall, there is an ape in an iron cage. Let's cut to the brass tacks. How much for the ape? The key is in the lock of the cage door. The ape is 2 hit die and is armor class 7 and will attack as soon as he gets out. He hates the cage, has been waiting to get even. If the magic user opens the cage, there's a 25% chance the ape will attack him. If anyone else opens the cage, the ape will attack someone in the room and then try to escape through a window, down the side of the tower, and off through the city streets. The magic user keeps his wand of petrifaction. The magic user keeps his wand of petrifaction. Try that again. The magic user keeps his wand of petrifaction, turns flesh to stone if he makes a hit with it, hidden in a secret compartment of the table. Only 5% chance of locating this compartment. Very secret. Hidden among the undecipherable parchment notes on the table is a scroll which reverses the wand effect, but only for one person and only once. The magic user himself is described in room F. If he is not in room F, he will be found here. By the time the adventurers have worked their way through this, the dungeon master will probably have lots of ideas of his or her own to try out. Design your own dungeon or dig new passages and levels in this one. What lies in the undiscovered deeper levels where Zenopus met his doom? Do the pirates have other treasure troves hidden in the sea caves? What inhuman rites are practiced deep in the ghoul-haunted passages beneath the graveyard? What are the townspeople going to do when they discover that our friends are tampering with things better left alone? So very cool notes on, hey, where to go from this.